Hello to all you beautiful kings and queens out there. Welcome to my channel. I want to thank you for stopping by to watch this video. Before we get started, I would like you to please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to growing with you guys and seeing where this journey leads us. So let's jump into it. I grew up in a single family household. It was myself, my younger brother, and my mother. At the time, we did have an aunt that stayed with us. She pretty much stayed with us in every apartment that we had. I'll start off with when I was younger. Well, it's not a story I should share, I don't think. If I feel like it, I'll share it later. But living, let's say my younger brother was born when I was about to turn 5. Usually kids, like some kids they don't like having a sibling, or they didn't like it. I would say that I liked it. I was like down for my little brother. Anything he needed, I was making bottles, I was changing diapers, I was doing everything at the age of 5, which is kind of crazy. But that was like, I loved him and I wanted to take care of him, make sure he was okay, and that is what I did. Around the time that he was born, a little bit after, we ended up moving from the apartment we were at to another apartment. We stayed there for a long time, maybe like 7-8 years, I think, till I was about 13. I went to turn 13. Shit hit the fan. We got evicted. My mother was having problems financially, and we got evicted pretty much. So after being evicted, that left us homeless. We had nowhere to go to. We had no backup plan. She didn't have a backup plan. I keep saying we, but my mother didn't have any backup plans or anything. I think we ended up going back and staying with my grandparents for a couple months, but that did not last long because my mom is a very difficult person to be around, but also so is my grandmother. When you have two big egos and they clash, it's not good to be in the same environment, pretty much. So a whole bunch of drama went down. Things didn't go as planned, and we ended up not staying there at my grandparents' house. So I think we bounced around house to house. We slept on floors, slept on couches. I think maybe, I don't think we ever slept in the car like that. I don't remember a lot of these all the details of everything. Some of them, most of them actually, I have tried to suppress and just not think about it because it's very sad. But I have come to a point in my life, I kind of chuckle and laugh now, but it was definitely harder in the times when I was going through it and the times when I was healing from it. I won't say that I'm fully healed from it, but I'm at a point where I can talk about it and I can like get into nitty and I'm like not bawling, crying, or not like depressed after talking about it, because I've established like that's my story, that's where it came from, and it has made me who I am today. So I see it now more as a blessing than when I used to think that it was a curse and that I was like this horrible person. So after bouncing around and around, I think we ended up living in a church, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the pews in the church for a while. That wasn't fun at all. Being judged by people in the church, being judged by them, and them like having attitudes and just that's a whole other story to get into too. We will definitely dive deep into that, and why I don't go to church, and why I'm not a Christian anymore, and why I'm not I'm not religious at all. Definitely been very traumatized by Christians and the whole Christian religion and all that stuff. But that is a whole other story to get into, and we can definitely get into that at a later time. That will be a whole video in itself. So after leaving there, slept on more couches, slept on more floors. I was still in school. Which is the freaking crazy part. I was in high school, and I was a cheerleader. I don't know how. Like, I was still doing good in my classes, still cheering, still showing up. No one even really knew. And I was dating my husband at the time, and he didn't even really know until like things got bad for me emotionally, mentally, physically. He didn't really know about the situation because I didn't really share it. The friends that I did have, I don't think I told them either what I was going through. Not a lot of people knew. I'm a very closed off. I am a very much introverted, stay to myself, be in my own world type of person. Especially having trust issues with people and all the people that have wronged me in my life. So at that point, I think it was my junior year. I would say I was like 16. That's when the suicidal ideations, I don't want to say suicidal ideations because that's a social work term. Pretty much I was having thoughts of committing suicide. I was in a very, very dark place. I had to be strong. So like it's crazy because I was a kid, and I was just a teenager, and I was going through all these things, and I had to be strong. I had to be there for my brother. I was basically my mom's support system as well. So I never had the moment to like release myself and go through my feelings and like being supported in all the things and emotions that I was feeling and not understanding, and just like trying to figure out how to navigate it. And I just didn't have a person there that helped me through that. But I was always the person that was that for other people, but I never had that person for me. So it like really put me into a very dark, deep black hole, and I was suicidal. I didn't have like a committed plan. I didn't like write a message or anything like, letting people know like if I leave this is why. I was just like I just felt like I was cursed, like all bad things were meant to happen to me. And that's a whole other situation to get into, the feelings of why I felt that way. But just to generalize the story, like, kind of breeze past the in-depth parts. I just felt like I was cursed, like I was gonna go to hell, and I didn't care. And it was just like, well, I'm destined for hell anyway, so like I don't care what happens to me. I don't care how things go. I'm not gonna put in any effort to anything really. But somehow I still made sure I was good in school. I still made sure I was on top of my grades. I still made sure that I was doing everything that I needed to do. All the commitments that I did make, I still went through with them, and that didn't stop me. It's like it's an unexplained thing. Like I can't explain how I still got through it. I just felt like it was this thing, like I just knew that I had to do it. And I think I felt like if I didn't do good in this, then like what else, like what am I good at? Because I already felt like hers. I already felt like there's no point of me living. There's no point of me still being in this world, because like I'm not, like I'm I guess I feel like I wasn't a good person. Like I wasn't, there was no point of me being on this earth. I wasn't serving any purpose. And I felt like that at the age of 16, which is a crazy feeling to feel. And I just had so much going on and so many people I was carrying at that age, which is like I was carrying adults and I was a kid. So when I say, like, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you're so mature, you're beyond your years," they said that to me, but like that's okay for me to be beyond my years, but like why do you have to suck the energy out of me and rely on me when I was just still a kid? Doesn't make sense at all. So I got through that. I did. I skipped over that part. I had my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. He definitely kept me. He kept my head on my shoulders, pretty much. Like he knew that I was at a very low point, but he still supported me. He still was there for me. He didn't judge me. He didn't know everything that was going on, but he stuck around, and he was like a rock for me, pretty much. And I was kind of pushing him away, um because like I felt like things are too good to be true, like, and no person, like all these other people in my life are using me and they're not good and things aren't working out, so like why would he be good to me? Why would he, like, what is in it for him, type of thing. I just don't think I've ever told him that, but yeah, that's how I felt. That was the mindset that I was in. So push forward. This really put a strain on the relationship I had with my mother. Things just started going sour. They started going bad. I started, like, I would say, standing up for myself, like going after the things I wanted, and the whole dynamic of our relationship was not good. That's a whole video in itself too. Don't want to leave you guys hanging, but yeah, the whole dynamics, just we started off with a very strong, good relationship, and it went sour, pretty much. And so fast forward, going to school, depressed, still doing what I had to do, because I felt like that was my worthiness. Like that was the thing that defined me, and that was the only thing that I had at the time that I felt. So push past a couple years of the main thing right now is the relationship with my mom just getting worse and worse. And then she found out about my boyfriend. My mom was a very strict parent, very overprotective. So they like, no dating. You cannot be with no guy. All they're gonna do is they're gonna have sex with you, and they're gonna wanna just, do the do and then go. And that's what she kept preaching to me all the time. I just kept saying, like, no, this one's different. It's not the same. And pretty much because I was my mother, and I still, have a love for her, and I, when you grow up and you listen to this person and you think that everything they say is right, you still listen to them even though you feel in your heart that it's not the right thing. I pretty much gave my husband an ultimatum, my boyfriend at the time. I gave him an ultimatum to, like, join the church or some shit. That's a whole other story to get into too. This is just the beginning, and it's a lot of juicy, a lot of things that went on. There's a lot. But actually, just a little plug in it. My husband and I are starting a podcast and a YouTube channel where we will be discussing marriage and like how we are navigating ourselves, our lives, our relationship, how we started out. So if you do want to hear that story, you can definitely um, go to that channel, listen to that podcast. It's not up yet, but when it is there, you can definitely see it in the description. I'll probably put it on the next video I do, for sure. Um, but where did I leave off at? Yeah. So I gave him ultimatum, and then we pretty much went in the church, and we tried to do whatever my mom wanted us to do to try to accept our relationship. But in the end, she showed that she was never going to accept our relationship. So then once the church closed down and we had nowhere else to stay again, we were back to sleeping on couches, back to sleeping on floors. And oh, I skipped over a part. Before the church shut down. Well, let's take it back. Back. When I wouldn't say like 13 or 14, the pastor of that church preached a message talking about the prom. How prom is like the day to worship the devil and get kids ready to go to the club and all this ridiculousness. And my mother really attached to that, and she at the time made me promise that I would never go to prom. And me not knowing, I'm like, well, I don't really know what prom is. So I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not. I promise I won't ever go to that. Like, I'm not interested in that. I don't care. But I'm like, I was 13, and prom was what, like, I didn't even know what it was really like that. So by the time it was my senior year, my husband and I decided, like, I was thinking like, hey, like, this is my last year. I need to make good memories of high school. My whole high school years have been turmoil and depression, and so like just sad, and I wanted to have good memories to look back on. Pretty much I wanted to have good memories to look back on for high school. So my husband and I decided that we were going to go to prom, and that was a tricky situation because my mother was opposed to that, and like, no, you made this promise that you weren't going to go to prom. So I tried to convince her. Otherwise, I had other people talk to her, and she would not budge. She did not change her mind. But I was 18. That whole 18, like, oh, I'm 18, I'm an adult now, I can do what I want. Technically, yes, legally speaking, but mindset wise, you're not an adult. That's a whole other conversation. But I was 18. There's nothing she could do to stop me, and I wanted to go. I wanted to make the memory. I wanted to enjoy and see it for myself. And she went to prom, so I was like, "How you gonna go to prom? But then you gonna tell me that I can't go to prom? That doesn't make sense." Anyway, so I went, and I went to prom. Had a good time. Enjoyed it a lot. My husband and I think we did get a hotel room, but it wasn't, it wasn't the freaky like people usually do, and that it wasn't that. Because I was on this whole hype, like, oh, I'm waiting for marriage type of thing. I don't know what I was thinking. But at that time, I was like, oh yeah, I'm waiting to marriage. I'm not. I'm gonna save myself. So, and he respected that. So we stayed at the hotel, had a good time. I got up, went to church the next day. Crazy, right? I went to church the next day, and oh, shit hit the fan. I seen my mother, tried to talk to her, and she ignored me. So, like, okay, she probably just so mad. Like, whatever, she's mad. I understand. She'll get over it. Whatever. And so she ignored me that day. That day led to a few days, led to a few weeks, led to months where she was ignoring me. She would not talk to me. She wouldn't say anything to me. It was crazy. So let's go back from months. A few weeks later, we were back to sleeping at the person's house that we were sleeping at on the floor, in the couch. And I think she was ignoring me, and I was very distraught about it, because I was like, okay, like, I did this one thing and it's not that serious, and now it's been like a couple weeks and you're still ignoring me. And so I went to I started going to my grandparents' house. That was kind of my place of refuge, because she was ignoring me. So like, whenever she was going places or doing things, usually she'll hit me up, tell me like, hey, we're going here, we're going there, we're going this, we're doing that, or whatever she was deciding that we were going to do, and I would follow suit. And she didn't let me know what she was doing. She just had my brother and herself, and she would go and do whatever and exclude me from it. Whether that was going to get dinner, whether that was going out and handling other type of business, she just excluded me like I was an invisible person, like I was not there. That it definitely broke my heart, and it made me, instead of like looking at her like, what's wrong with you, or like, what's your problem, what's your issue, it definitely made me go within and look at myself and like, okay, like, maybe I went too far, maybe I effed up too bad. Like, why aren't I worthy of her to acknowledge me just because I went to this dance, just because I wanted to make a memory and enjoy myself. So that's kind of the space I was in, and it was very difficult. So one night, the most impactful night of my life, I was at my grandparents' house, and talking with my grandfather. My grandfather is very special to me. And he was just, we were talking. I think we were just chilling. He and I had a few talks about, what my mother was doing, and that's his daughter, so he obviously knows her. And just he was encouraging me like, she'll come around, everything will be okay, type of thing. And so like a few hours later, I received a text message on my phone, and this part definitely still makes me a little emotional, so I apologize. But just remembering myself in that moment is a lot. So I received a text message, and it was from my mom, and she texted me. Mind you, this is the first time like that she even had any contact with me. She was not calling me, she was not texting me, she was not speaking to me, she wasn't even looking at me, and like, unless you like really had to. So she texted me, and I looked at the text message, and she pretty much, to sum it up, was like, the house where we were sleeping on the floor at, the house that we're staying at, your brother and I aren't staying there anymore. So you need to figure out what you're gonna do. I don't know what you're gonna do, but we're not going back there. So yeah, that's it. That's what she sent to me. And I just remember my heart just crumbling, like, so much pain. And I just kept saying, like, what did I do? Like, why aren't I worthy? Why aren't I, like, I was just, it's like an indescribable feeling, but I just felt so unworthy and so crushed and so upset. So upset. And all I did was cry. I could barely talk. And my grandpa heard me crying, and he comes out and he's like, what's going on? And I show him the text message, and I'm like, why aren't I worthy? Like, what did I do? Like, and he just comforted me. He was like, Like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I think I said, like, why am I unworthy? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And he just told me, like, there's nothing wrong with me. And that he just tried to encourage me, like, that the situation would work out, and that she would come to her senses, and she would change her mind, and that she would understand, which didn't happen. It didn't happen. Sorry, take a mindful breath. So it didn't happen. She didn't come back to her senses. So pretty much that night, the most detrimental night, I had nowhere to go. Well, technically I could have stayed at my grandparents, but that's, I don't know why I didn't stay there, but I didn't. And I ended up calling up one of the girls that were my friends for a while, and I asked her and her family if I could stay with them, because pretty much my mom didn't want me. That she pretty much abandoned me. She didn't want me, and at the time I felt like it was all my fault. So my grandpa drove me to the house, where we were sleeping on the floor at. I gathered my things, and their things were gone. I gathered all my things, what I could handle, what I could carry, and I went to my friend's house. At the time, we're no longer friends, but I went to her house, and I stayed there, finished school and everything, but, like, my mom was no longer in my life. She just completely, ever since that day when I showed up to church after prom, she just stopped talking to me. And then I received that message, and then I never heard from her. There are a few other stories about when other people tried to help us reconcile things and get back together and understand each other and stuff like that, and those situations did not turn out well. I can get into those if you would like another video. Definitely let me know. But the reconciliations did not work out. It was bad. But back to me staying at my friend's house. I stayed there. I finished school. I graduated. But man, there's so much that happened. Fuck. I graduated, but before that, before I had graduated, I got into pretty much the situation I was in where I was living with my friend. There's some mess that went down with the friend, and it just didn't work out. I will just say that. Like, maybe if I feel comfortable getting into it, because it has to do with other people, and if they see me, they're like, oh, you taught this, you did that, you're telling my business, yada yada. But I won't disclose any names. But that situation went to shreds, and I pretty much had nowhere else to go. So then I finally went to my grandparents' house. But being that my grandmother's a very difficult person, that did not last long either. We weren't getting along. We weren't getting along at all. And so then I packed myself in my car, and I was ready to just live in my car until I figured something else out. I was just fed up. I was done. But then, I was still with my boyfriend, and he kept telling me, come live with me, come live with me, come live with me. But I didn't want to, because in my head, every situation of every person that we ever lived with, and, they helped us and they allowed us to stay there, all those relationships went bad, they went sour, and the person ended up not speaking to us, or the person ended up like being rude, or like the situations didn't go well. So in my head, I associated whoever I decide to move in with, then, and ultimately in the end, that relationship would be tarnished, which was true every time. So I was so scared to move in with him, and his mom was very accepting and open, which was very awesome, and I'm very thankful for that. But I was so scared to move in with him, but I had nowhere to go. So I ended up moving in with him. And the note I want to end off on is when I graduated high school, I was very proud of myself. I was very happy. I had got accepted to two of the colleges that I had applied for. And I, the hopeful kid that I was, I'm an optimist. I invited my mother. The stupidest decision that I ever made. I invited her to my graduation, and inviting her was the worst thing I could have ever done. She made sure that the moment was stripped away from me, and she made sure that it was about her. She showed up late, like she always does. She's always late, and I kind of inherited that part from her too, unfortunately. But she was late, and she had my little brother with her, and she had my little brother with her, and they got there, and she had a whole bunch of stuff with her. She had like clothes and stuff. I don't know if they were transitioning houses or something. I don't know, because I didn't really know anything anymore about them. She had a bunch of stuff, and she had asked for my grandfather's keys so that she could put the stuff in his car, and then she could go back into the stands. Well, she made sure to show up just in the moment of time where the gates were being locked, and we were supposed to be walking out to the field, me and my classmates. And so I tried to like hurry up and run and get her the keys so she could hurry up and put the stuff in the car, and then she could get back in. And so like I was pretty much, they were saving my spot, but I was like trying to hurry up and rush so that she can get in and she can be in there and she can enjoy the moment with me. And all she did, I took the time and I ran up to her and I gave her the keys, like, here you go. And she's standing there and she's crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? And she ignores me, and she's just standing looking at this gate where my high school is, that looks into the field, with all her stuff on this table. And I'm giving her the keys. I'm like, okay, hurry up, like, let's get your stuff in the car so that I can get on the field, and then you can get into the thing. And she's just crying. She's just standing there crying. And she said to me, what did she say to me? I think I might have suppressed that too. But she said something horrible. I think she said, like, I don't care, like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going in. I don't care. Something to that matter or length. And so, like, I just remember, like, leaving, like, dropping the keys, giving it to her, and just walking back to the line, and just tears in my eyes, like, just so sad. It's like, this is my special day, and you're sitting here crying like somebody did you wrong, like somebody did something to you, and you're supposed to be here to enjoy me, and I didn't even have to invite you, but I did. And like at that moment, she completely stripped away like the excitement, the accomplishment that I felt, the worthiness that I had thought I had gotten back from the other moment of her taking that, her making me feel like that was taken away from me. It was pretty fucked up. Um, she pretty much, she stood there the whole time crying, looking through the gate. As I went onto the field, my name was called, took a picture and everything. I was sad. I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel that worthiness that I thought I would feel. Um, I faked a smile, had a smile on my face, pretending like I was happy. But deep inside, I was truly hurt. I was like ripped up. I never, I don't even think I have like my high school diploma and the cap and gown. I don't have it anymore because it just, to me, it signifies like such a horrible moment when it was supposed to be such a happy one. Um, it was difficult. It was, and that was just only the beginning. That was only the beginning. Um, it, most of the trauma things that I went through did happen like up to that moment. I have gone through some more things, which of course I will share with you guys later. But for now, that's where the story ends. It's me graduating, 18, graduating, living more with my boyfriend and his family, being a man, not having a mom anymore, I guess technically, being abandoned by her, and just feeling unworthy, feeling not good enough, feeling like, how am I gonna get through life? Uh, just like so emotional. And in the end, all those emotions, they turned into anger. And I became a very, very angry person in that moment. Oh, those times bringing that ish up is a lot. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in, watching this part of many other parts that are to come, and just listening to my story. I hope that you're able to take something from it or see a new perspective of, my life that you may not have experienced in your life. Or just finding a relation and you can relate to me. If you can relate to me, definitely leave a comment. I would like to know, like, if there was more relatable situations. I was like, just somewhat like the moments and the events that I went through, that I have shared so far. There's so much more, but what I've shared so far, I would definitely like to know people who definitely can relate. So I thank you for tuning in again. Please make sure to like this video, leave a comment, of course, and please subscribe to my channel. I am excited to see where this goes.